Craftin, coming to you on Friday the 13th at not quite 20 minutes before midnight here in Wisconsin. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, obviously, if you know where Wisconsin is. And I need to do a quick and easy card because I kind of took a break this evening and went out to dinner and just kind of relaxed on the couch for a while. My husband and I actually, I don't watch much TV, but we actually watched a couple of episodes of Death in Paradise. There's a channel my husband found that kind of runs them back to back to back. So we did that. So tonight I'm going to just do hopefully a quick and easy. It's a little putsy, but it goes really fast. We're going to make 4 cards, believe it or not. And it shouldn't take any longer than if we just made 1 card, except I do realize that I didn't get any card bases. So I'll do that in a minute. But I'm going to use the Impressions Abloom, and I'm using just a lot of the pieces in here. So I'm basically using all of these flowers, the leaves, these flowers, and these centers. And then I'm using, you can see here, I already pre-cut this flower, excuse me, this flower and this center, and then this little stem here and the leaf. So I already did that ahead of time to hopefully save time. And then just to make it a little bit easier too, I used, I pulled out some sentiments that I think will work from this Say Something ephemera pack. So these are always a nice go-to item. They're all die cut. They come in full sheets, but I put them in here once my sheets start falling apart so that I don't lose pieces. And then I just put them in these stamp cases, and then they're easy access. All right. I am going to grab a sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I am going to use a Stampin' Pearson mat, and I'm going to go get a second one. And I'm going to pull a couple of pieces of cardstock. I should have put my microphone on, but hopefully you can hear me. And I'm just pulling out a few sheets of paper, cardstock, so that we can make some card bases. So here's kind of the color palette I'm using. I'm using some pinks and some greens. This one's Melon Mambo, Pretty in Pink, Lemon Lime Twist, and Old Olive, some of my favorites. And I'm going to set those off to the side for right now. Let's put this one here so that we can get a good workspace here. And we're just going to do a bunch of stamping. Hello, Julie. Welcome. Thanks for popping in and let me know when you're here. Sometimes I get a little behind on the comments because my tablet doesn't go as fast as what the live video does. There's just a little bit of a delay. So I've got my 8.5 by 11 sheet of basic white cardstock, and I am just going to start stamping some stuff. I think I'm going to use some strawberry slush right off the bat, and we'll pull out some Pretty in Pink, and we'll set these off of here. And I'm going to take the background stamp, and I'm going to use the lighter color. All right. And I am just going to start stamping randomly on here down the center. Julie, where are you from? And then I'm going to go crosswise down the center too. Let me get a scrap piece because I don't want to stamp on my piercing mat, but I want to go over the edge. And we'll do some over here. And let's get this scrap over here again. And seems like I've got some ink on my fingers because I see a couple little smudges here, but those are not going to matter. We're gonna cover those up anyway. Hello, Deb from Ohio. Thanks for popping in. Some new names. And then I'm going to take, I didn't wipe this off. I was playing with this a little bit before I came live. I am going to use the Strawberry Slush then as a darker color. And we're going to put the two-step stamping on here. I probably should have moved my stamp around a little bit more so that my flowers were not going all in the same direction. But take that as a hint for if you use this technique. What I usually do is I move my stamp around, or I'll move my paper so that I don't have to reposition my stamp in my hand. So I would kind of go like this and shift my design around just so they're a little different. And maybe for the next flowers I'll try to do that. So this is from the Impressions Abloom. And these don't have to be real, I think I stamped that off. These don't have to be super perfect because it's kind of an abstract. I don't know, here we go. No, we'll just go there, close enough. All right, so I'm gonna set that one aside. Let's go to a smaller image. And I'm gonna use the Pretty in Pink, I think. Is that what I did these first ones on? Maybe we'll do a few Pretty in Pink. And again, I'm just kind of making my design in kind of a cross, basically not an X, but we'll get a few of these flowers on there, and it's going to be a lot of pink, so this is going to go to somebody who likes pink. All right, we'll set that aside. Then I think we'll take my Melon Mambo and this one. So this one has, let's see, I think, where do I want to line this up? I had it all figured out there. I think that'll work. Yeah, oh, that's pretty dark, so let's stamp off. That's a little crooked, but that doesn't matter. It's kind of abstract. And this will make more sense the more we go on. It'll all come together, but you can see we're kind of like making our own designer series paper. But it gets better. I hope you like it. I've done this technique before. I haven't done it for a while, and it just kind of popped into my head. I don't even know what made it come into my head. I don't know what I was thinking at the time. All right, so let's set those pink ones aside. And I'm going to close some of these so that I don't end up with more ink on myself. I'm a little later tonight than I like to be. Probably not later than I usually am because it's usually after 11 o'clock here in Wisconsin when I go on, but I came on a little after 11:30. So it's just one of those days. So then I think we're going to try, let's try this one. This is kind of like a daisy-ish. But I think we'll go, we'll do some full strength, I think. And then I'll do some stamped off. And I'm just starting to fill in the voids. We're going to put some leaves on here as well. Let's do a little stamp off here. That shows up pretty good. We'll make this go off our paper there and there. And then I think we'll do some of the little ones too. Here we go. And I think we'll stamp those off just to get some more pop of color in there. And then, whoops, I missed that one. We'll go back. There, nobody will know. And then I think we're probably ready to do the two-step on those little ones. And where did that one go? That's right here. And I'm using Cajun Craze for that one. And I think we'll go like that. I think that's how that one lines up. Sometimes it's hard when you can't look right over the top of the stamp. It's close enough. I guess that's all the little ones I did. Then I need this one for the daisies. Let's see how that lines up. I think that's good. Oh, and see, that's not even showing up. I may need to get a darker color, or we'll just offset it. My Cajun Craze might need some more ink, but you'll get the idea. It's meant to be kind of abstract anyway, so it'll be fine. All right, let's do this one again. There. And then let's do some flower centers. And we're gonna, let me close this one up. So there's a big flower center and there's a little flower center. So we'll repeat this and then we'll be ready for the leaves. And then we'll be ready for the next step. I have my chamois here so I can wipe things off right away. I take my chamois, it comes as a 5x7 and I cut mine in half because I have these old wooden stamp cases, or the old stamp cases that were for the wooden blocks. And they hold half of a chamois really nicely. You can't buy those through Stampin' Up! Anymore, but I had some. All right, I think I have all the centers. So let's go ahead and start getting some leaves on here. Let's move these out of the way. I have a little bit of a mess going on, but that's how I stamp. Who's a messy stamper? Anybody besides me? I'm a messy stamper and a putsy stamper, and I see I didn't get some of these very clean, so I will wash those off later and run them under the sink. And let's go ahead now and do some leaves. And I'm using my lighter color first. And I'm just going to pop some leaves on these. Ah, nice, Deb. I'm glad I'm not the only messy stamper. I think it helps my creativity. We'll go with that, right? And I'm just randomly filling in some spots. And this is not a new technique. I've seen it done many times. I actually did a retreat with my team leader a couple of years ago. And this was one of the techniques that I featured. And it was pretty popular. And you can just make all kinds of fun designs. We actually did it the year we had a really nice sunflower stamp. I just thought it was so pretty. And I just like the pop of the bright green in here. This is a lemon lime twist that I'm putting on here. I just love that extra pop. That's probably enough of that one. I can always add more. Whoops. Got a little overzealous, I guess, with the ink there. And then we'll do the veins. So you can see how quickly this moves once you get going on it. And I just love this combination of colors. I could have used the Calypso Coral in here too, I think. Would have been nice. But I grabbed Timid Tiger and my Cajun Craze for the orange tones. And then I've got my Lemon Lime Twist and Old Olive for the greens. And then what, Melon Mambo, Strawberry Slush, and Pretty in Pink. I think were all of the pink hues that I pulled up. Well, I guess that's all of them. Looks like I have them all. All right. So here's what we're going to do next. Am I allowed to say who my team leader is? Yeah, it's Robin Scherzer. We're in Wisconsin. Robin is in Elkhorn. I'm in Norway. So it's a long commute. It's the town of Norway, actually. So if you're familiar with Wisconsin at all, we're in the southeastern corner. But yeah, so we did this retreat, and it was the 35th anniversary year for Stampin' Up. So not that long ago. So one other thing I wanted to do, let me pull out my Cajun Craze, and I'm just going to stamp a few of these because I kind of did it on my sample and I thought it was kind of fun. I'm just stamping some of the hellos in here. So I joined Stampin' Up in 2017 with Robin, and I had been invited to a couple of stamping events she had. Like she runs clubs, and a friend of mine that I worked with at the time had invited me, and Stampin' Up had some deal. I don't even remember what the deal was for joining. I think that's probably enough hellos. And I thought, oh, I'm just going to grab the kit because who doesn't want free stuff and a discount for a while, right? And I thought, I didn't really think I'd stay in it that long, but when I started seeing her do some of the cards and stuff, I thought, oh, I can do that. I think maybe I'll just kind of hang out for a bit. All right. So our next step, we've got 8.5 by 11. I'm going to go ahead and cut this at 5.5. And then I'm going to cut both of these at 4.25 because that'll end up giving us 4 card bases, 4 card layers. Sorry, 4 card layers. And what I do from here then is decide, all right, if I want this to go on my base, let's get a few bases here. So I think we'll go, if this is 8.5, yeah, we'll go 5.5 here. I'm just going to make a couple of quick bases. Sorry, I wasn't prepared. And I like to score mine right away at my 4.25 because I like the nice, crisp fold. And it helps me keep it straight. So these are actually going to be like this. But now what I need to decide is what side do I want to cut some off of this side or the top? Do I want to have it even? And I'm just going to go ahead, since this flower I made really not very pretty, I'm going to go ahead and take my 1/4 inch off of there. And I think I'll take a 1/4 inch off of here. So you can tell that each card is going to look very different based on how you trim and how it was on the crosswise of your card. So let's do like one of these. We'll just put like a "You're awesome," and we'll pretend that I cut out focal flowers for each one of these. But I would do something like this, where I'm going to put the stem on and the flower, and then we'd put our little sentiment on there, "You're awesome," and maybe a little bow on there. So there's one card, kind of ready to go, ready to glue down. So let's take a look at this one. I kind of like all of that. So again, I'm going to take it down to my 5 1/4 here. And then that flower is really cute. If I cut off of here, I'll take off a flower or part of the hello. So I'm just going to go this way and we'll get it down to 4 inches. And let's take a Melon Mambo base and I'm going to score it at 5 1/2 instead of scoring it at 4 1/4. And I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4 so that I can still get a landscaped card base, because I wasn't thinking with the first one. I don't usually do my landscape ones as like a tent fold because over time they open up. So that was kind of an oops. I didn't really intend to do it that way, but I do mostly my portrait cards, or I typically do my cards in portrait. All right, so that would be something like that. We'll get, if I would glue this stuff down, it would probably look better. But we're just kind of playing around with these 4. So there. And then we can do that. So there's that one. So now this one, it's going to open like this. So I think they call that a hot dog, but I call it landscape instead of portrait. All right, so we could do another flower and maybe a hip hip hooray. Maybe they got a promotion or something. All right, so let's do one in Pretty in Pink. And again, I'm going to score it at my 5 1/2. And then I'm going to cut it 4 1/4. And there we go. So let's say, let's take some off of the top. So we'll make that our 4 inches. And I always, my habit when I use my trimmer is always to cut from the bottom to the top, because my card I line up in the tray or the stop here. There's a ridge. I always line it up there so that my paper is straight. And then I always take my cutter blade and I go in the same direction. So I'm basically only using one side of my blade. And then when that side gets dull, I take it out and I turn it around. And then I use the other side of the blade that I really haven't used much yet. And that just kind of works for me. If your blades start just kind of falling out when you're bringing them down here, they're probably worn out. And it's probably time to change them. So here we're going to go 5 1/4 for a normal layer. Now let's say I had really messed up some of the stamping. I could always cut this layer a little smaller and maybe do an accent piece behind it. Like here, if I wanted to put like a Melon Mambo layer, I could cut this one down a little smaller, and that might make it pop out pretty good. I'm going to go get a piece of Timid Tiger. And this one is like the hamburger fold, or the standard one. So on this last one, we could actually go like this. Okay, so let's go 4. And we'll go 5 1/4. And there we've got it on Timid Tiger. And for this one, I thought we could use Howdy. So again, for all of these, what I would do is cut out a focal flower, and I would do it in different colors. Here I've got Better Days Again. And again, that's from the ephemera pack, the Say Anything. Yep, Say Something ephemera pack. So every time you lift the arm of your trimmer, your blade falls out. Your blade may have worn out. So what happens is either that or you don't have it cinched in here because there's actually two spots. So there's a foot here basically and a foot here. And I don't know if you can see on my, I'm trying to get it, the light's not, let me turn on another light, maybe that'll help. But you can see where there's like feet here to catch and feet here to catch. And part of mine is really getting worn here because of how much I use it, all right? So when you put it in that slot here, this first foot has to catch, and then make sure that you move it up a little bit so that that second foot can catch. Because if it's not sitting in there all the way, it's going to come out really easily. Or if it's in the track all the way and it's coming out really easily, those feet are just worn out. And you just need to get a replacement pack. And I happen to have a couple of those. And it's just the cutting blades. You get 4 in the pack. I don't even remember how much they are. But for me, I seem to make them last a long time. But this is number 152,391. So if you need to order the replacements. And the scoring blade is the same way. That one comes with just 2 replacement scoring blades. But it's the same thing. If your blade, either the cutting blade or the scoring blade, starts falling out, it's because these feet are worn out or broken. Sometimes that happens, you know. And hopefully you can see my scoring blade is really worn, and that's from, you know, just pushing. They get worn out. So if these feet should break off, they're going to fall out of that tray. And I know it gets really frustrating. Me, I'd probably be, you know, stubborn enough to just try to keep using it without going to where that notch is for them to come out. So, you know, maybe I would put some tape or something just to remind myself, oh, if I take it down here, my blade's going to come out. So just a couple of ideas for you. All right. Alrighty. So if I was going to do all of these, then I would probably, on like this one for sure, do a mat. So let's cut this down to 5 1/4 and 4. And then this one, I'm just going to take down a little bit smaller. I'll take like, I'm just going to take a 1/16 inch off and see if that's enough. That might not be, but I'd rather take less off because I can always cut more off, but I can't put more on once I've cut it off. So I just want just the thinnest little border there. Let's move this out of the way. So I want just the thinnest little border, and look at what a difference that makes. Just that little bit of color around that layer makes it stand out. And then, you know, we would, let's do some glue on this so I can move it easier. Yeah, so Deb, I'm glad that helps. Hopefully it'll help. All right, my glue. Oh, I still have some. I've been working on this glue bottle for a while on empty. So we're just gonna pop this on here. And let's put some in the middle there for the center. And a little glue goes a long way. You don't need very much glue at all. Some of the gals, I did a class yesterday, and some of the women just, they put lots of glue on. I'm like, dot, 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 not a lot. So let's do, I don't like that. That I like. All right, so let's put a little glue just on the bottom section of this stem. And if I had been thinking ahead, I could have put some adhesive sheets on the back of there because these are so small, but it'll be fine. All right, it'll be fine. Let me get my silicone mat. And we'll lay this down and we'll just put this right on top. And then this leaf I can come up there if I want. Or maybe I don't want, maybe I want, I don't know. There, maybe I want it like that. I like that. All right, that'll work for now. All right, and then I just use a hole punch and put a hole in the corner of my silicone mat. And I've got this command hook that I have on a shelf next to me. And I just hang it there so it's out of the way, but always where I need it. All right, so here I would do like this. Let's line that up. And then, I don't know, maybe just take this straight up and I'll just trim off some of the base. There, that's kind of cute. I would put this up on dimensionals for sure. Okay, so there's that card. And this card, I think it needs something too. So maybe I would use a piece of Timid Tiger. Do I have, no, because I brought a base over. We could probably do another one of these and see how it looks. So let's do 5 1/4 by 4. And if I don't like it, I can always put that base on another card, right? Oops, I guess I still need that because we're going to cut this down just a smidge, just a 1/16. And then, yeah, I guess we'll take it off of that side. So I think this is just such a fun, easy technique. And when I did it with the retreat that we had new stampers, and man, they left like feeling like professionals because look at what you did with just this random stamping. I like that. All right, so we could put this. And again, I think I'm going to end up trimming that down so that's not quite so long because I like the flower kind of in the middle of the white. So you can kind of see how these are coming together. For this one, I might pull in a layer of Cajun Craze and cut that down, or maybe Old Olive and just see how that looks. So if we did like an Old Olive layer, that would be pretty, but I think Cajun Craze would work as well. So you have to just kind of visualize. But it just kind of, I don't know, it seems to like finish off the edges to me. The other thing that we could do is run this through like the textured notes, frame dies, or even the perennial postage, or you can even run this like through an embossing folder and just put a subtle design on there. So that's it. That's all I have for tonight. 4 cards, 1 basically 8 by 10.5 sheet of white cardstock. I start with my 8.5 by 11 and I trim it down so that I can make up for any mistakes that I make. But you end up with your 4 card fronts, and then you just need to add your bases and, you know, the layer to set it off, like the framing layer. So thanks for stopping in, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you give it a try. And for this, you can use like any stamps. You know, you may have some floral stamps. You may have, I thought about doing it with the new sale one we have. I don't remember what it's called. But you could do it with so many different stamps, and who doesn't have some floral stamps they could try it with? So give it a try. You can shoot me a message, or my Facebook page, which is also Lori's Little Bit of Crafting. I'll be posting these on there. If you add a comment to my post, include pictures of what you've made. So I'd love to see how creative you get as well. Thanks for stopping by. Until next time, happy crafting.